As the title indicates, this is a program about drug-free instant healing, which I define as significant or even complete healing results for a variety of conditions, including the healing of broken bones in less than an hour. That's right, less than an hour. Some of the methods require you to think quite differently about mind-body relationships, but the potential results are well worth the stretch in your belief system. Because instant healing is not feasible for all conditions under all circumstances, these methods also work for rapid healing, which is healing that takes less than 1 day, and fast healing, which takes place in less than 1 week. The methods you will learn have been used successfully by myself, my family, and thousands of people whom I have taught. Some of the results may seem miraculous in view of current ideas about health and illness, but I'm not talking about miracles. This program is about practical ideas and techniques that work. Simple methods that anyone can apply. What are some of the events that led to my writing this program? Well, in a nutshell, my father was an MD, and he knew a great deal about the function of the body. He knew a great deal about the mind as well. At an early age, he'd been adopted by a Hawaiian man from Kauai and trained in a particular form of traditional knowledge. Years after my father's death, I received a telephone call one evening from a woman who claimed to be his Hawaiian sister. She invited me to come visit her the following weekend to meet her father and talk story, the Hawaiian term for sharing ideas and experiences. The visit was a major turning point in my life. In a simple ceremony, the woman's father, who was also my father's adoptive Hawaiian father, adopted me as a grandson. He turned me over to his daughter, now my aunt, to be my teacher in the same tradition in which my father had been trained. There was mention of a brother, Wana, who would be my new uncle, but I wouldn't meet him for many more years. Auntie Laka, as I called her, was a lovely Hawaiian about 10 years older than me. She taught massage and meditation at an informal school, and I spent the next 2.5 years under her tutelage. I learned everything I could learn about how the body responds to loving touch, emotional energy, and mental symbols. My next major acquisition of healing knowledge came to me in Africa, where I was managing socioeconomic development programs for an American voluntary agency. Here, I think, was the real beginning of my understanding of the links between beliefs and the body. I witnessed rituals that caused both illness and healing. I learned how zombies were created. I was given herbs that supposedly instantly cured snake bites and the wounds of poison arrows. I was taken to energy springs and healing waters. I learned killing chants and curing songs. I participated in rituals and experiences that radically transformed my ideas of reality and possibility. In one of my most profound experiences, I lay dying of malaria in the sub-Saharan savannah when an African shaman came to me in a dream. He told me that if I truly wanted to live, I should eat the liver of a freshly killed antelope hanging outside my tent. When I awoke, I crawled out of my tent, asked my companions to prepare the liver for me, ate it, and lived. Not instant healing, but pretty darn rapid. In between all the magic and mystery, I became a specialist in community development, the art of helping people to help themselves. In the process, I gained priceless knowledge about the secrets of human motivation. About a year before leaving Africa, while on a trip back to the United States to take care of some family business, I encountered my Hawaiian uncle, Wana. During intense but sporadic meetings in various places over the next 7 years, he guided me through deeper and deeper levels of shamanic healing practices. On returning to the States for good, I earned a master's degree in management. Based on many years of study and practice, I opened a hypnotherapy clinic and did energy research while working on my PhD in psychology, and continuing to work with my uncle. During this period, I intensively explored the healing effects of words, imagination, energy fields, and body movement. Eventually, I formed an organization to train healers and teachers, wrote books, invented energy devices, and gave many workshops all over the world that added to my knowledge of healing. So now that you know a little more about me and the wellsprings of this program, let's learn the reasoning behind the instant healing concept, and, even more importantly, how to do it. In the words of a Hawaiian proverb, "Ahuwale tananihuna," that which was hidden shall be revealed. The next time you stub your toe or smash your finger in a door, how would you like to be able to heal it yourself in less than 5 minutes with no pain and no bruises? What if you could heal a burn in the same way? Or get rid of a cold in under an hour? Wouldn't it be great if long-term headaches, depression, stiffness, pain, and many other problems could disappear in an hour, a day, or even a week? Well, the ideas and techniques presented here can do just that for you, as they have for thousands of others around the world. They may not work for everyone all the time, but they will work so fast, so effectively, and so often that you will truly be amazed. I was trained in the Hawaiian shaman system of healing, but in my life as a healer, I have also explored the most advanced techniques of the Western world and the most primitive techniques of the undeveloped world. One very significant thing I have noted is that no matter which system is used, some people are healed through it, some people are not healed through it, some people are healed without it, and some people are healed in spite of it. The best way for you to get the results you want is to understand how healing works. So let's look at some of the ways that are used around the world to heal the body. And as long as I'm talking about various methodologies, I want to mention at this point that you should be aware that some healthcare professionals have differing opinions about the implications of the content of this program. The ideas, suggestions, theories, and techniques you are about to hear should not be used in place of other sound medical therapies and recommendations. This program is not intended to replace any other form of treatment. When in doubt, always seek professional help. Getting well is more important than proving a point. Now, how do we heal? First, there are the physical methods, which include medicine, herbs, diet, and nutritional supplements, surgery and bone setting, chiropractic and massage, exercise, magnetism, fasting, and deep breathing. Second, there are emotional methods of healing, such as affection and attention, laughter and play, anger release, fear confrontation, forgiveness, color, aroma, and music. Third, there are mental methods, such as placebos, hypnosis and self-hypnosis, talk therapy, guided imagery, visualization, positive thinking, affirmation, and meditation. And finally, there are spiritual or metaphysical methods of healing that include pyramids and crystals, aura cleansing, therapeutic touch, homeopathy, acupuncture and acupressure, prayer, faith, and ritual. This is truly amazing. If the body can be healed by all these different methods, and there are countless case histories to support the healing effects of each of these methods, and many more, then it seems clear that each and every method is just a means by which one thing, the actual healing process, takes place. No one theory of the healing process can be considered adequate when another gets the same effect. Therefore, something else is happening instead of, or in addition to, what the theorists say. Healing starts when there's a need for it. When a person gets into a state of disharmony, by way of illness, disease, or injury, the body responds by trying to recover on its own. Sometimes an individual consciously tries to help, with or without the aid of others. Sometimes others try to help the individual, with or without his conscious help. When the attempts at recovery and help are effective, the person gets better. I'd like to look at a possible common thread that links all the different kinds of disharmony, and that is the stress factor. No matter what kind of disharmony one is talking about, no matter what the name of the disease or illness that may be involved, and no matter whether the condition is primarily physical or mental, there is always some degree of physical tension present. It's common to think of tension as a result of illness, but let's play with another idea. What if tension were not an effect of illness, but the cause? If this were so, then all one would have to do to promote healing would be to relieve the tension. That's the assumption this program is based on. But before I discuss relieving tension, let's examine the ways in which tension builds up in the first place. We'll begin by looking at the source of tension itself, a thing called stress. Stress can be defined as a constraining force or influence, as a force exerted when one thing presses on, pulls on, pushes against, or tends to compress or twist another thing, especially the intensity of this mutual force and the deformation caused in a thing by such a force. The plain language translation is that stress is not only the action of pressing, pulling, pushing, compressing, or twisting, it is also the reaction of pressing, pulling, pushing, compressing, or twisting against the other force. Stress isn't stress unless there is resistance. It's the resistance that causes the tension, and the tension that causes the problems. And note that a constraining force or influence can also come from a lack of something, such as food or water or love, and is not limited to something active. Stress in and of itself isn't bad. It's vital for building muscles, moving, breathing, motivation, and a number of other things that are useful and necessary. But if you try to lift a heavy weight for too long, the muscles will break down instead of build up. If you eat so much healthy food that your stomach is ready to burst, you are doing yourself more harm than good. If you try to save the world by making people change, you'll be so stressed that you'll accomplish very little. Examine your own experience, and you will find that it is not just the ordinary stress of daily living, but excessive stress over a period of time that causes the severe problems. One might describe this as too much tension, although too much will differ among individuals and circumstances. From now on, when I talk about stress, I mean the excessive kind. Physical stress is a relatively simple phenomenon to describe. After engaging in physical effort for a long time, the body begins to resist the activity more and more until exhaustion or accident forces it to stop. I would point out, though, that the more enjoyable the effort seems to be, the longer you can continue it, because you're not resisting it as much. Less resistance means less tension, and less tension means less effect from the stress. If you love to play volleyball, you may be able to do it for hours and hours and end up pleasantly tired but exhilarated. If you hate to do housework or clean out the garage, however, you may end up exhausted and achy after only a couple of hours. Another kind of physical stress that produces tension occurs when you are poked or prodded with something sharp, hard, or excessively hot or cold. Although you don't think it strange to be cut or bruised or burned by such contact, Some people's injuries remain for a long time, while others are able to heal very quickly. Having healed broken bones, burns, and bruises of my own in under an hour many times, I can tell you that reducing tension as quickly as possible is a critical factor in the length of the healing process. Physical stress can also come from reactions to the environment. Allergies are so common that many people take them for granted, and some people are highly sensitive to trace amounts of natural and man-made chemicals, and to electromagnetic radiation. The body tries to protect itself against such intrusions, not only by internal chemical means, but also by creating a barrier of muscle tension. And then there is the stress caused by such things as hunger, thirst, and lack of movement. It's easy to see how physical stress can cause physical tension. The effects of emotional stress, on the other hand, are more difficult to identify. This stress is usually thought of as generated externally, or, in other words, by what someone else is doing to you. This perception is so widespread that many people are paid compensation for the emotional stress that others have caused them. In fact, emotional stress happens only when you become afraid or angry or excited, and all of these are internally generated responses. It's easier and sometimes financially profitable to blame others for making you feel bad, but you really do it to yourself. One person may be bothered excessively by a situation that would be taken in stride by another. Your attitude toward what others do has more effect on you than what they do. The emotions most likely to cause stress are fear, anger, and excitement. Of course, there are variations and levels of these emotions. Emotions related to fear are anxiety, panic, terror, and embarrassment. Emotions related to anger are jealousy, envy, sadness, depression, and grief. Excitement includes enthusiasm and positive anticipation. In a state of fear, your body is trying to get away from what is fearful. It would actually run if it could. If you decide not to run, the impulse to do so is still there, and the conflict between the impulse to run and the decision not to run causes physical tension. In extreme fear, the tension can become so great that fainting occurs, or body functions are impaired. In an angry state, your body is trying to push something away, forcefully change it or hurt it, and any of these impulses causes tension too, especially when they're suppressed. Fear and anger are used to resist people and situations, and that gets translated by our body into physical tension. Sustained excitement can lead to tension caused by the body's need to rest. Acute or chronic fear, anger, or excitement can be very stressful in terms of the physical tension they produce. Then there is the mental stress factor. Your slightest thought causes a slight physical response. Your strongest thoughts cause strong physical responses. Remembering, imagining, planning, speculating, wondering, meditating, and any other form of mental activity have corresponding physical effects. That means your body automatically tries to carry out the physical equivalent of your thoughts by activating your nervous system, modifying your breathing pattern, altering your hormonal or other chemical output, and adjusting your muscle tension, among other things. If you remember water skiing, the muscles you used when you did it twitch right now in resonance with the mental act of remembering. If you wish you could kick your boss in the rear, the muscles required to do that tense up in preparation for the act. The more abstract your thinking, that is, the less related your thinking is to any kind of physical action, the less response there is in your body. However, sustained abstract thinking accompanied by shallow breathing and an unchanging posture can result in unhealthy physical tension. Criticism, denial, doubt, confusion, and conflicting beliefs or motivations all produce mental stress and can cause physical tension. Criticism by itself is similar to anger without the depth of emotion. When you criticize, you are experiencing an impulse to push, change, or hurt, and when the body tries to respond to the impulse, the effect produces physical tension. Denial is a mental version of fear, with the same impulse to move away from something and the same kind of tension that results. Doubt occurs when ideas are in conflict, and confusion occurs when choices are in conflict. When your stressful thoughts also generate stressful emotions, the effects of emotional stress are added to the effects of mental stress, and physical tension is increased even more. There is also a spiritual stress factor. The main symptoms of what I call spiritual stress are apathy and the severe form of boredom called ennui, although headaches and other physical and behavioral symptoms can also be connected with spiritual stress. Apathy comes from a habit of increasingly distancing oneself from surrounding values, emotions, and activities, to the point where a person is less and less stirred or motivated by the things that affect and interest other people. Apathy could be called the spiritual version of anger, because it seems to be a coping response to a sense of being helpless or frustrated. Instead of feeling angry or depressed about being helpless or frustrated, some people simply suppress feeling. Unfortunately, the only way to do this is to keep muscles in a state of tension so that feelings can't be felt. And more unfortunately, if enough additional stress of any kind is added to the mix, the effort to hold back feelings may break down and allow an outburst of violence. It is quite common for people who suddenly break out in a frenzy of aggressive activity to be described by people who know them as quiet and unobtrusive. I remember meeting a man who was very placid until someone did something he didn't like.